A few miles south of that intellectual cauldron and engine of scientific advancement and economic growth known as the Research Triangle is the town of Fuquay, once known as Fuquay Springs. Although the town has enjoyed robust growth, it takes pride in its preservation of small town values and a rich history that links the town to the very founding of our nation. 2 blocks from a well-preserved and quaint shopping district stands a historic landmark in Wake County, North Carolina, the Fuquay Mineral Spring Inn and Garden, truly a unique bed and breakfast facility that draws visitors from near and far. Once the private home of local physician and former town mayor Dr. W.S. Cozart and his wife Pauline, this handsome structure was crafted for the ages. After nearly a century of continuous use and tender loving care, the historic landmark was restored to its original condition and updated with the amenities for the needs of guests. Today, it remains virtually as it was when the last nail was hammered home. The elegant gardens that frame the inn, the carriage house and gazebo set the stage for the gracious ambiance that permeates this fine old building. The Fuquay Mineral Spring Inn and Garden occupy what might be called hallowed ground, a remnant of a 1,000-acre plantation granted to William Fuquay. Directly across the street from the inn is the historic Fuquay Mineral Spring Park. Discovered the same year as famed Lourdes in France, these waters, like those of Lourdes, were believed to possess potent healing powers that restored health to those for whom traditional medicine of the time was inadequate. Throughout much of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, this spring generated a building bonanza in the town. Fine hotels and accommodations flourished in Fuquay Springs, aided by a junction of 2 railroads in nearby Varina that enhanced travel from throughout North Carolina and the nation and brought thousands to the town. In these beautiful old rooms and stunning gardens, first-time and returning guests find not just respite from the rigors of travel, but indeed a kind of solace for the soul. Innkeepers John and Patty Byrne are here to make your visit not only comfortable, but truly memorable. As a repository of data about the inn, John enjoys explaining some of the more interesting facets of the building and its furnishings.
The architectural structure is that of colonial revival, and it has some craftsman type design. You have a tapered chimney on the front of the building, which is part of the architect's signature. The carriage house too is a very neat feature. It actually housed a horse and buggy, and the servants lived above. The gazebo is really a neat place because it provided a venue for the summer meals. On the side of the building here, you'll notice a little conservatory. The conservatory was used by Mrs. Cozart. It has a southern exposure, and she would be 6 and 8 weeks ahead of everybody else after the last frost and put her plants out for a very nice show. In the grand parlor here, you have the double doors coming in from the entry parlor to the library, to the grand parlor, and then back to the dining room. You have a fluted fireplace that's encased with the marble. Above the fireplace you have a painting, an oil painting done of Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson was the 17th President of the United States and the only one ever born in Wake County, North Carolina. The reason I acquired this painting, Tommy Byrne, my father played professional baseball with the New York Yankees in the 40s and 50s. Kind of in the Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle era of baseball. He signed his professional contract in the lobby of the Andrew Johnson Hotel. This painting hung in that lobby, which was right downtown Raleigh. Much of the memorabilia in the inn comes from my father's collection of sports over his lifetime. The fluted columns frame the leaded glass window, and the staircase is a very gentle slope about it. The chandelier here weighs about 300 pounds. It's solid brass. It came from South Carolina. If we go to the dining room, you will see a chandelier there that actually came from France. It was presented to Mrs. Cozart from her husband, Dr. W.S. Cozart. In the room, there is a good number of pieces of Terry Isaac's work. One of them is called Lovers at the End. Terry Isaac is considered by many people one of the best painters of the bird alive today. This collection that's here is the largest collection of his work in North America. Here is a painting done by William Phillips, one of the best architectural and airplane painters in the country. This one is the third in a series of bed and breakfast inns in North America.
Patty Byrne takes a special interest in the guest rooms, their unique features, and the personal touches that make each night a lasting memory.
This is the Cardinal Suite. In this 3-room suite, we have a black walnut bedroom set. It's been queen size, so it'll be comfortable for our guests. Alongside of it, we have an antique, really old washstand that came with my great-grandparents. In this room, we have a sitting area and work area. This is the painted bunting room. This room has twin mahogany beds and a nice bathroom on the side. This room is named after a small multicolored bird from the lower regions of North Carolina. This is the goldfinch room. This room has walnut beds, and this lovely wardrobe is from the Ben Wiley Hotel next door, which is part of the complex here. This is the Savannah Sparrow room. In this room, you have a Teaster bed. Many people enjoy the luxury of this bed. This room also has the original bathroom, which is in Art Deco tiling and design. And the carriage house is a wonderful retreat for honeymooners, and it's a 3-room suite that many people enjoy.
Unmatched comfort in a historical setting, a house full of interesting artwork and antiques, all within easy distance to Raleigh, Chapel Hill, Durham, and the Research Triangle. Just part of what makes the Fuquay Mineral Spring Inn an unforgettable experience. Scaled to human dimensions for outside dining and other activities, these lovingly tended grounds inundate the senses with living beauty. Designed so that each season brings forth a special kind of floral beauty, the gardens catch the rays of the early morning sun and hold them captive throughout the day. The diversity of plants and flowering things attract a variety of birds and bees, and thus the gardens serve as a small but effective wildlife habitat. To properly appreciate these gardens requires the expertise of an expert, and who better to inform us than a trained horticulturist, Nelsa Cox, owner of the Garden Hut in Fuquay Varina.
John has done a wonderful job with some of the old-fashioned roses here. There's the fairy rose, there's some Elizabethan roses, and so the preservation and the history and the memory of these plants is incredible. And there are lots of grand trees here. One of the first trees you see when you come in is a beautiful water oak that I imagine is some 75 to 100 years old. Right next to it's a wonderful, beautiful, magnificent twin trunk magnolia tree. One of the most magnificent redbuds is here in the front yard at the inn. This redbud is native and indigenous, but it's probably the largest redbud I have ever seen in North Carolina. Many of us have heard of the roadside lily or the ditch bank lilies, and John has a wonderful hillside of these well-preserved ditch bank lilies. We call them day lilies because they have a flower for a day. One of my favorites is the Japanese maple. He has a beautiful Emperor One burgundy Japanese maple. It's just stellar. John has incorporated, and his gardeners have incorporated, canna lilies and Russian sages and salvias and peonies. And the peonies are really neat. Some people think that the ants are actually trying to hurt the buds or eat the buds, but the ants that you see climbing up on your peony stalks are actually trying to help the blooms open. There's always a season of bloom here at the inn. And again, if you want to make a memory, come to the Mineral Spring Inn.
When business or pleasure bring you to Central North Carolina, John and Patty Byrne hope you will accept their invitation to the Fuquay Mineral Spring Inn and Garden and their promise of a uniquely rich experience that might well be the highlight of your trip.